In the top stories, Prime Minister Harris leads contingent to Dubai. Grenadian man charged with murder goes to court. And Romania flies COVID patients to Italy as Croatia hits new record. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today's Friday, November 12, 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris will lead a delegation from St. Kitts and Nevis to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, where he will participate in a number of activities as part of the ongoing Expo 2020. Expo 2020 Dubai, being held from October 1, 2020 to March 31 of next year under the theme Connecting Minds, Creating the Future, is an international event that is used as a platform to showcase the technological innovations and cultural heritage of close to 200 participating countries, including St. Kitts and Nevis. During his visit to Dubai, Prime Minister Harris is expected to participate in St. Kitts and Nevis's National Day ceremony scheduled for November 16. The Prime Minister will also participate in a number of bilateral meetings and exchanges with citizens of the Federation living in the region. While in Dubai, Prime Minister Harris will also promote the Citizenship by Investment program of St. Kitts and Nevis to potential investors there. The Prime Minister is scheduled to depart the Federation today. In Prime Minister Harris's absence, Deputy Prime Minister, the Honourable Sean Richards, will assume the responsibility of acting Prime Minister. As investigations continue, we have more information regarding a traffic accident along Wellington Road earlier this week in which two persons were injured. According to a police report, the accident occurred close to midday on November 9. It involved motor omnibus HA179, which is owned and was being driven by Elroy Garnett of Lodge Village, and motorcycle scooter RA1309, which was owned by Dakadan Scooter Rental and was being ridden by Clifford Vera of Newtown. The police say HA179 was traveling along Wellington Road from Bastair towards Molyneux. Shortly after passing the roundabout, the bus came to a stop to pick up a passenger and the motorcycle collided with the rear end of the bus. A passenger from the bus and Vera were taken to the JNF General Hospital. The passenger complained of a pain in the neck and Vera sustained a broken leg. Both were treated and discharged. Ahead of the busy Christmas season, police officers from the Criminal Investigations Department are encouraging persons to safeguard themselves and their property from theft and fraud. During ZIZ Radio's program Policing With You on Thursday, Second-in-Command at the CID, Sergeant Valon Hodge, mentioned some of the offences that are usually recorded during the season.
Offences like burglary, house breaking, larcenies, petty larcenies, larceny from attended vehicles. Now, those offences would normally increase around this time, where persons take the opportunity to commit offences. I guess it's for during the festive seasons. They need money to go out and do other things, and these are some of the offences. There are also some fraud offences that you need to be aware of in terms of your credit card and so on.
Third in command at the CID, Corporal Andrea Batiste, spoke of the seriousness of these offences.
If you are being convicted of an offense such as embezzlement, you go to prison. The penalty is a term not exceeding 7 years in prison.
Wow.
So you could get ranging from 1 to 7, not exceeding 7 years. Burglary, if you're found guilty, you go to prison for a term not exceeding 20 years.
Wow.
House breaking, not exceeding 10 years, and robberies not exceeding 7 years. Fraud offences, a term not exceeding 5 years. So these are really heavy penalties.
Host of the program, Superintendent James Francis, added that business persons should ensure that their employees are doing their due diligence and to ensure that their cameras are working as they play a vital role during investigations. We now move to news on the regional scene. The non-capital murder case involving a St. Mark resident in Grenada goes to trial in the High Court come 2022. The man accused of the death of his companion, Chanel Alexis, had his hearing day in the Magistrates Court on Thursday. GBN News has the details.
In a matter that drew national attention back in June 2020, Mitch Phillip, the man formerly charged for the death of 23-year-old Chanel Alexis of Victoria St. Mark, appeared before Magistrate Francine Foster for the hearing of his matter at the Victoria Magistrates Court on Thursday, before it goes to the High Court. Phillip had a charge of non-capital murder slapped on him. Attorney George Prime was the legal counsel representing the 49-year-old joiner of Queen Street, Victoria St. Mark. 11 witnesses were called to give evidence in this matter, most of whom were present virtually in court. However, none spoke at today's proceedings. Phillip is alleged to have intentionally caused the death of Chanel Alexis, who was pronounced dead on arrival at the General Hospital on the 30th of May last year. It took officials 3 weeks before an autopsy revealed the actual cause of Alexis's death. The expertise of a forensic pathologist from Trinidad and Tobago was brought in to conduct a second autopsy. The findings, coupled with additional evidence obtained, led to the charge laid against Phillip. If found guilty of the crime, Phillip could be sentenced to life imprisonment. Phillip was granted bail by the High Court and will make his first High Court appearance sometime in January of 2022. Christina John, GBN News.
There are renewed concerns about the efficacy of the United Kingdom's deportation policy as many Jamaicans were taken off a removal flight that landed on the island on Wednesday, November 10. At the 11th hour, legal challenges were mounted and the nationals were taken off the flight. CVM Live provides the details.
5 Jamaican nationals in a plane with the capacity to seat 350 people arrived at the Norman Manley International Airport on Wednesday morning. Images circulating on social media shows anti-deportation activists blocking the road in front of a detention center in protest of the removal flight. The controversial flight is the 4th of its kind to the island since the Windrush scandal in 2018.
I think now is time to step up the game when it comes to Windrush, because clearly these flights should not be taking place until the Windrush scandal, those impacted, have been sorted out.
Prior to the deportation flight, Jamaican High Commissioner to the UK, Seth Ramakan, raised human rights concerns.
As a country, we cannot say to another sovereign nation that we are not accepting our nationals. At the same time, we want to be sure that all the legal procedures are offered to them for them to properly defend their position and their rights.
Initially, over 50 Jamaicans were to be deported, but legal challenges were mounted and that number reduced drastically. Immigration attorney Jennifer Housen has taken issue with what she calls the government's silence in matters of human rights violations.
There has to be something coming out from Andrew Holness. It can't be that the Prime Minister is not saying anything. And I will say this, silence speaks volumes. And as far as I'm concerned, the Prime Minister is being far too silent on an issue that is affecting the diaspora. The diaspora is not just for remittances. The diaspora is there for protection and to be protected.
Robianne Williams for CVM Live.
Internationally, the vaccination rate has slowed down in Romania and has resulted in patients being sent to Italy for treatment. In other European countries, governments push for stricter measures against the unvaccinated amid soaring coronavirus infections. Euronews reports.
4 Romanian patients with severe forms of COVID-19 are flown to Italy for treatment. Help is being offered from several European countries, including Germany and Hungary, aware that Romania's health system is on the brink of collapse. In the last 24 hours, the country's recorded over 400 deaths. Despite soaring infections, Croatia is finding itself a popular destination with Russian citizens. They're heading to Zagreb in rising numbers in search of Western jabs. They're needed for travel around Europe and the US. And Russia's own home-produced Sputnik vaccine hasn't been approved by the World Health Organization or the European Medicines Agency.
Not only Russians, but all foreigners who come for vaccinations. There is a special line, but they are mostly Russians who have a single-day transit in Croatia. They get vaccination confirmation here, and after 14 days they receive EU COVID certificates.
In the UK, November the 11th is the deadline set for care home workers to be vaccinated. It's a case of jab or job under the government's new rules. April the 1st is the date for other frontline health and social care workers to conform. And in Germany, its famous Christmas markets are facing cancellation for a second year in a row amid soaring COVID infections. A low vaccine uptake rate is being blamed.
AstraZeneca is counting on new orders to move its COVID-19 vaccine to modest profitability after the shot made a small contribution to earnings in the third quarter and achieved $1.05 billion in sales for the three-month period on Friday, Reuters reports.
AstraZeneca has long said it will not make a profit on its cheap and easy-to-use COVID vaccine during the pandemic. There were some signs that might be changing on Friday. The vaccine made a small contribution to earnings in the drug maker's third quarter. The Anglo-Swedish company now projects the shots will move to modest profitability on new orders. AstraZeneca said that would make up for other costs related to developing COVID treatments. Sales of a COVID vaccine have proven highly profitable for rival Pfizer. The US drug maker forecasts sales of at least $65 billion overall for 2021 and 2022. AstraZeneca's total product sales jumped 47% to almost $10 billion during the 3 months to September. Sales of the vaccine reached just over $1 billion during that time. The acquisition of rare disease specialist Alexion also boosted AstraZeneca's sales. The company did see lower than expected growth in some of its core treatments for cancer, rare diseases and heart conditions. But sales of asthma drug Symbicort were up 13% to $676 million.
And now for the weather. Present weather is partly cloudy skies with adjacent showers. The winds are a moderate breeze of 13 miles per hour from the east. The temperature for today is 31 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 5 to 6 feet. The weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis today will be partly sunny with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a 50% or moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 5:36 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 6:14 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.